Good evening, this is Davey T from Field Sports Scotland, and I am coming to you with another episode of FSS Chatback, where this is my weekly podcast where I talk about everything hunting related, outdoor related, that sort of stuff. I know I've been talking a lot about politics recently and my own personal views in some of these podcasts, but some of it is basically me telling you how I feel certain things are going. I'm trying not to offend anybody by some of my points of view, and I try and kind of politically keep an even ground. Talking about political, what's the news of this week? Well, first of all, what have I been up to? I've been out doing some summer foxing, end of summer foxing. Now the dens are practically clear of cubs and stuff like that. So just getting ready for the winter, really. I have my night season coming up for deer. Getting lots of prep done on that. I'm still sitting out in the high seats up to 30 hours a week, spending in the field in high seats and stuff like that, looking over replants. But other than that, I'm doing also a fair bit of stalking. Some of you might have seen some of my shorts lately on my YouTube channel. And yeah, I'm just picking up bits and bobs here and there. I've got an exciting review coming up in regards to Bagara 17 HMR. I will be organising that with Toby at R. McLeod's Day. I've got a heap of Bagaras in right now, and I want to have a shot at a couple of them. So I spoke to Toby, and he said, well, let's pick a night, let's set one up for some rabbiting, and we'll get out and get a feel for the rifle and see what it's like. So that's something that I'm getting really excited about. Just got to arrange a time and a date with Toby. Other than that, what news? What countryside news? Well, Nature Scots has upped their game yet again on regards to their deer management plans, especially for the larger culls, maybe try to get in control of deer numbers. They are now given, I am told, don't quote me in this, up to £70 per Sika or per hind. So they're covering this over two regions in Scotland. One is in the Central Belt, and the other one is in South Loch Ness. So in South Loch Ness, it's basically, I think it's £70 per Sika. That's whether it's hind or stag. And I think in the Central Belt, it's hinds, red hinds specifically. But hey, I think it's going to be a real interesting thing. You've got a lot of contractors and wannabe contractors out there will be registering with Nature Scot in regards to get this bounty. I haven't heard a bounty on an animal in a long time. The last bounty that I used to hear was when the old Forestry Commission, not before it was Forestry and Land Scotland, doing a bounty on foxes. Pretty much making every deer stalker a contractor now in regards to these areas. So it's quite an interesting one. So if you're on an estate, for instance, are these estates going to be taking on this grant, one of these estates? And if they are, well, I'm sorry, your gamekeepers are now technically contractors, or your stalkers are technically contractors, because that is a government contract. When you're paid by the government to cull deer, it is an incentive to cull deer. You are now under contract. So that is, well, I'm sorry, that's going to peeve a lot of people off. A lot of people who have spent a lot of years putting down contractors because they're full-time stalkers on estates, genuinely are going to feel a bit put out there. And it's a little bit hypocritical if they accept this money and then still blast all the rest of those guys that work in forestry and that doing the exact same thing as what they're doing. So there is that. I think it's a good incentive. I think it's a great incentive because I think the venison prices have been very, very low for a while, since Brexit. And I think getting a little bit of payment back for your hard work when you're out stalking is not bad. And for the government to put that incentive in sounds absolutely fantastic. So I'm up for it. I'm all for it. It might go against some government plans. The other news that from Nature Scot in regards to deer management is that they have brought out a new tool, or they're piloting a new tool to work out what your culls should be against whatever deer density that you want. Now, there is an existing tool on Nature Scot, used it many times, and it's quite interesting. But what that lacks in is what we call vacuum. periods, vacuum periods, is where you've done a heavy cull and then suddenly it attracts an influx of deer in. Basically work into your cull plans when you're doing large culls like that. You will get a lull in a period where you're doing a heavy cull where you're not seeing many deer, and then suddenly you'll see an influx of deer. And that is the same with foxes. You could go a whole year without actually seeing any deer or seeing any foxes if you're culling foxes, and then suddenly you'll get an explosive run of foxes. So that's so they are the new tool that Nature Scott is bringing out is apparently a lot better, and it allows for this vacuum period. Talking about foxes, I've spent a couple of podcasts now talking about listening and getting to know your environment and being out there and understand what's going on by what you're saying. So I left the estate last night around about 10:30, 11 o'clock. It was well dark by then, by the time I left, but I had to walk out from inside one of some of the deepest parts of the estate. And then I decided to go for a couple of hours foxing before going to the gym. And then I was back on the estate first thing this morning. However, rain was really hard last night. But when I was out in one of the farms last night, and I know we're late in, and the lambs are a lot older now. Foxes are probably not going to attack a lamb. But I had this weird thing happen to me last night. Some of the younger lambs, I'm not saying that they're young to the point as they're in major danger, but that's quite a good sound, major danger. But they were very distressed, and the sheep were very distressed over it. So I knew there was something up, stayed quiet. I was lying in the grass, and out of what seemed nowhere, up through out of some gorse or bracken or whatever it was in front of me, came this absolute stomper of a male fox. Now I couldn't tell if it was male just by looking through the thermal and the night vision, but man, it was a full moon last night, and I could see him clear as day, and he was big. So I managed to get him about 144 yards, but he really stressed out the sheep. He was at the sheep. He came through the middle of them. They were stressed as hell. I've never seen the sheep so stressed. Even in lambing time, I've never seen sheep stressed, and I've saw foxes walking through. So this is obviously a known fox to these sheep and a dangerous fox to these sheep. And it just shows you that listen to the animals, listen to how things are going when you are out and about, because obviously, if something's not right and you feel there's something not right, and you feel that the animals around you, like the livestock that you're dealing with, is acting quite strangely, then there's obviously something strange. So be extra vigilant. And as I said, this fox was a big, big dog fox. He must have been a good 12 to 13 kilos, and he was a stomper of a beast, of a dog. Probably one of the biggest foxes I've ever shot. And I kid you not, he was really pestering the sheep. He was really pestering the lambs, and that's unusual at this time of year. I've seen foxes walk through whole flocks of sheep and not even disturb them. This thing really, really wound the sheep up. Anyway, it just goes to show that knowing your ground, knowing your animals, knowing what to listen out for and things like that really pays off. The rain was torrential. You'll see a short as well, one of the shorts that I put up today or yesterday, where Sika hind hiding in the gorse. I mean, I was hiding in the gorse and I was getting soaked while I was videoing this Sika hind that was hiding in the gorse about 250 yards away from me. It was just bucketing down. In the last 24 hours, it's been like that. And I see there's another yellow, just got in the door about, well, what time is it just now? It's 20 to 11, just got in the door there, and it's been torrential. It's another yellow warning due for the Highlands. So we're just going to have to battle it through. So tonight is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to talk about low caliber shooting, rimfires. We're going to talk about rimfires. Now, It is one of the oldest relevant calibers to this day is the 22LR, right? I think it was in 1890 something where the 22LR was first developed as a short rifle round that basically was just a cap and a little ball on the end, and they used to fire it at fair shows and stuff like that. And then it developed into a powder cartridge with a rimfire charge. Rimfire, for those uninitiated, the primer is on the outer rim of the casing. At what we call the head at the primer end or the head. Firing pin strikes it. It strikes the edge of that cartridge. It ignites the powder. It charges the primer, ignites the powder, and obviously lets the bullet go. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail with that because this video will end up getting banned or something from YouTube. But that's developed from a little short round to what we see today as the 22LR cartridge. Now, there's a number of rimfires. I think in the 90s, the 17HMR was developed, which is a relatively young. So the two most popular that were rabbiting rifles or small game rifles that are ever used is as a rimfire cartridge is the 17HMR and the 22LR. Now, as I said, the 17HMR is the baby to the 22LR in not just in age, but in many ways. The 22LR usually fires a 40 grain bullet. Most will shoot. You get the supersonic stingers that will shoot around about 1700 FPS, and then you'll get your subsonics that will shoot around about between 900 and 1030 and 1060 FPS. So it keeps it around that supersonic range. Now, so the most popular cartridge for the 22LR is subsonic. It's quiet, it's heavy, it's a slow round. However, it is very accurate at short ranges up to 50 yards, usually 0, 100 yards if you've got good holdovers and stuff like that. And as many people have seen, I have shot rabbits out to 200 yards and 175 yards. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this tonight is that a lot of people who are, like I speak to these days, are using air rifle. Now, air rifle is great. Non-powder charge, as we spoke about once before in regards to air rifles, fantastic for birds, especially shooting up into trees. Low power, sub-12 air rifles are perfect indoors and sheds and stuff like that. The 22LR is maybe the step up. That's where you go for your firearm certificate. Now, a lot of people might not get be approved for a center fire rifle. God, I am all tongues and twisted tonight. They might not get approved for a center fire rifle because the fact is maybe the land that they're working on it isn't big enough or not suitable. It might have houses close by. It might be the fact that a firearms inquiry officer decides, or the firearms office decides that they want you to get a little bit more experience before going out. Maybe you've just got rabbits and some ground game. It's mainly rabbits, or in some places hares, and if the season's right, you might have that, or you might have foxes at a close range or whatever. So there might be a number of reasons why you might not get accepted for a center fire rifle, but you will get accepted for a rimfire. Now, here's the big thing between the rimfire and the center fire. Don't think because you've only been approved for a rimfire that you can't do most pest control jobs with the rimfire. With the 22LR, yes, you can't shoot deer with it. With the 17HMR, you can't shoot deer with it. 22WMR, you can't shoot deer with it. Any of your rimfire cartridges, you can't shoot deer with it. However, you can shoot foxes and you can shoot rabbits. So that gives you plenty opportunity of going out and hunting, doing what the other Foxer lads are doing, and it will allow you to hone your skills with a rifle. It's also a lot cheaper. It's a lot less expensive to fire rimfire than what it is to fire centre fire. Your skills are still needed there. You still need your field craft. You still need to learn about wind. In fact, you need to learn about it more, learn about windage, learn about how elevations, learn about your bullet drops, learn about speeds and stuff like that. It is a perfect gateway into some really, really fantastic hunting. Now, I've spent countless hours, countless nights rabbiting, and I always take a 22 LR with me or the 17 HMR out with me when I'm out doing the farms, because even if I'm out doing roe deer on the farms with a 223 or the 243 or whatever, I will have the 22 LR in the car or the 17 HMR in the car, because you might get bored. There might be a heap of rabbits that you might want to pick off, and there's nothing but more fun than going out and doing a proper job that is going to benefit the farmer. It's going to benefit his livestock. And you're doing a bit of land management while you're there as well, because rabbits do make a heck of a lot of mess. The heavy warrens can be detrimental to livestock, detrimental to the ground, detrimental to trees. In fact, I've had a few contracts where I've been shooting rabbits in trees, in plantations. I had an itchy head there. And so it is an important gateway into hunting, and they're fantastic calibers. Now, 17 HMR is a little bit more powerful than the 22 LR. You get out to further ranges. It's a lighter bullet. Normally shoots a 17 grain or a 20 grain bullet, but it packs a punch, and it's a lot of fun. If you're plinking targets, plinking apples and old rotten apples or fruits or crab apples from the garden or whatever like that, you could get some explosive and some fun out of that. So it can really open your rimfire shooting, can really open your eyes out to some fantastic hunting, fantastic, straight to the point, getting in the field and enjoying hunting, basically. And you can eat the rabbits and squirrels or whatever you want to shoot with them. Now, there is a serious side to rimfire. 22 LR is a main contender in the NRL 22s, National Rifle League 22s in America, who are at Bisley and stuff. They are shooting targets out to 100, 200, 300 yards. And I kid you not, it's like there's sponsors out there for it. So if you are a good 22 LR shooter, get your ass out there, because there's plenty of places where there's some big competitions, big money to be made, and a lot of fun to be had. So there's a lot more rimfire clubs out there than what there is, or small bore, call them small bore clubs out there, because it's easier to get a rimfire than what it is to get a centre fire for your first firearm. Why am I talking about this? Because, to be honest, it's harder and harder to get into this sport with all the news and everything, and all the propaganda in regards to folk having firearms and the safety of having firearms, and people not being able to get their firearms, and gun grabs and stuff like that. Now, trust me, if you've got a heap of air rifles and you're deemed not fit to have those air rifles, the police will take those air rifles away from you, as well as your firearm certificate. It's a no-brainer when it comes to that. If the police have a reason to take your stuff away, they will take it away. Now, I spoke to many firearms inquiries officers over the years. I have dealt with them quite a lot in regards to a lot of things, and genuinely, if you're compliant with them, they're pretty good with you. The firearms officers are there not to take your firearms away. They're there to regulate and do a job, and to make sure you're safe, the people that are around you are safe, and the people that stay close by are safe, and the ones who are close to where you shoot are safe. So if you want to get into like hunting and you're struggling to get into a centerfire category, get into the rimfire category. Ask for a rimfire, because get some rabbit ground, because that is a lot of fun. That gives you your entrance into, at low cost, understanding everything you need to know about a firearm, learning how to maintain the firearm, learning how to, and everything's so cheap on a rimfire that you're not worried about anything. Everything is a little bit more simpler. Everything is a little bit more closer and just as deadly. There's no doubt about that, if not more deadly in many cases, but genuinely a lot of fun. And I do a lot of stuff with the rimfire stuff. So if you really want to get into it, go for that. Now, they also price off firearms. A 17 HMR, even a really good one, you could pick up for about £500 maximum, you know. I know, as I said, we're going to be testing the 17 HMR Bagara that has just come in Army Clydes. Now, that was only £450, you know. I haven't paid for that. It's going to be a demo. But it just shows you that you can get a top-of-the-range rifle in the rimfire category way cheaper than going out and spending an absolute fortune like what you do on your centerfires. Now, if you want to get into competition and do all this precision 2-2 league and stuff like that, well, you're talking thousands of pounds. So you could be 10 grand for a full-on precision rifle set up with precision scope and that. And to be fair, that's for a rimfire, and that's why a lot of guys will prefer to go into the centerfire competitions over the rimfire competitions, because the price is harder. However, transportation of weaponry across borders and stuff like that, like flying from here to the States, is a little bit easier with a rimfire in some cases than what it is with a centerfire. So it's 6.5 dozen. Anyway, that's about 10 minutes me talking about rimfires. As I said, I had a lot of fun with them over the years. I have spent a lot of time with them, and I'm getting excited about looking at this Bagara. Now, on Saturday morning, around about 11 a.m., between 11 and 12 a.m. on Saturday, 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. on Saturday, God, get it right, David, I am going to do a live question answer right here in the studio. I'll sit in here, I'll sort out a few bits, and while I'm online, I'll go live, and I want you guys to come in and fire questions, all sorts of questions at me over the chat or whatever, in the comment section when I do it, or however it works. I'll work it all out. And I want you to get involved in the not a podcast, in this question answer service. If you've got problems with scopes, if you've got problems with your night vision, if you want my opinion on what night vision to buy, because it's coming up to that season now where a lot of foxers and all that and rabbiters and whatever will be going out to buy night vision stuff. If you've got any interest in hunting, you want to get a syndicate or you want to do something like that, I'll advertise it between 11 and 12 on Saturday. That's 2 days from now. So it's 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. I will have basically live session where I'll answer any of your questions in regards to hunting, shooting, and all that related. I'll try and stay away from any political questions and any personal questions. And if you're rude, you can bugger off, because I really don't want to have any rudeness. I just want this to be a kind of channel for everybody. I will let you know when we're getting out and doing this Bagara thing, because that would be absolutely awesome. So I'll speak to Toby on that. I'm going to try and get a guest for next week. Haven't got a clue what it'll be yet, who it'll be yet, but we'll work it out. Anyway, that's the end of this week's podcast. I'll not keep you any longer. This is Davey T. Happy hunting. Stay safe. Good night.